Go.
I'm Stephanie Gamillion. This is my case study presentation for EDU 311, Ms. Slater's class. I did my case study on Brandon. He was a white male, 10 years old, and he was at home with his mom and dad. He's the only child. He comes from a low socioeconomic status. He has no known medical issues. His parents are very supportive, and he was homeschooled up until this year. Brandon's strengths and interests are he loves science, but he hates reading. His favorite hobby is fishing with his friends in the neighborhood. His favorite sport is basketball, and his strengths are in math, and he meets friends very easily. He's very sociable. Brandon's academic and behavior challenges were staying on task, talking out of turn, or at inappropriate times when the teacher was teaching. And the ways that my CT and I had came up with to minimize his behavior problems was with strategies, rewards, or preferential placement in class. And what we did was put Brandon in the front of the class. Every week, the students as a whole would change desks so they could be with other students, but we always kept Brandon in a seat that was closest to the teacher and to the front of the class. His academic and behavioral history was very slim. Since he had been homeschooled up until now, we had no previous testing on him. He does not qualify for RTI, and his mom or dad had not referred him for special ed. He is doing pretty average with the rest of his subjects. It's just mainly a behavioral issue that we have with him as far as talking out of turn and being disrespectful towards others. I observed him in the gym during the award ceremony, and the entire class was in the gym during this award ceremony, so every student had the opportunity to come up and receive an award, whether it be for citizenship, AB honor roll, or A honor roll, or AR. And Brandon sat next to me and the teacher. He sat with his class though, and he did act appropriately the entire time. He did not talk out of turn. He did not misbehave at all, so I was very impressed with his behavior throughout the entire ceremony. Another observation was I observed him in math class while the teacher was teaching. And he did raise his hand a lot to participate because he does love math. So he always likes to put his input when she's asking questions. However, he did laugh at a student who had difficulties, and it's mainly a student in particular that has difficulties, and he generally likes to make fun or pick on that student. So an area of concern was bullying and antagonizing others. However, the teacher did correct his behavior immediately. She told him that was, not nice, that was inappropriate, we don't do that. And I feel like I do need to work with him as far as bullying and respecting others. The third observation was in the lunchroom during lunch. He followed the rules as far as getting his lunch and having a seat at the table. The students do have to sit quietly and eat lunch for 15 minutes before they are allowed to talk, and he did that. However, after they were allowed to talk, he finished his lunch. He took the milk jar or container and he dumped it into his tray playing. He didn't do it by accident, he did it purposely. And also he started throwing food at another student. It was another boy that was sitting close to him. And we did correct his behavior and stop it and tell him that was not appropriate. We don't do that in the lunchroom. I do feel like he knows better because he doesn't do this all the time. So he knows right from wrong. And I think I mentioned to the teacher that we ought to videotape his behavior when he's acting out like this, and then pull him aside later and have him watch it and ask him what he thought about his behavior. Brandon's social strengths and challenges challenges. He was one of the few students who was consistently not chosen for the sociogram. He is one of our lower achieving students in the class. And when I asked him about the students that he picked for the questions of the sociogram, he picked 3 students for his best friends, but I've only seen him talk to one of the students. And also he picked a student who had just bullied him on the bus about a couple weeks prior to this, so I was really surprised that he picked that student. And then also the 3 students that he did choose for his best friends were the lower achieving students as well. So it made me wonder why he didn't choose higher achieving students. Effective interventions that we did was apply preferential seating every day in every classroom that he was in, and proximity control. I stayed close to him throughout the lessons that I was there, and that worked very, very well. He didn't act out of line, and he wasn't rude to the student that he's usually rude to. And also rewards. If he behaved and he didn't get in trouble that week, he was rewarded by having a student job. And then if he misbehaved, we would take that job away. And he really liked the jobs that we gave him, so he tended to act better. And then my reflection on the intervention, the proximity control, was one that worked the best, like I said, because I stayed beside him. He knew I was always around, and if I was around or the other teacher was around, he would not misbehave or be rude to others. And then also the preferential seating. He did have that every day in every classroom that he was in. It worked the best, and then the reward system was also a good one because it kept his behavior problems to a minimum. And then the intervention implemented was this sheet over here. If he misbehaved, we would circle or talk about which ones of these that he did wrong. He would have to fill this out himself, so he would say what he was doing when he did it wrong, what he could do to correct his behavior, and his mom or dad had to take it home. So he received a few of these in the very beginning when we started to work with this, but however, he did not like getting in trouble at school with us and then going home and getting in trouble with his mom and dad. So as the weeks progressed, the amounts dwindled down. So he did not misbehave as much. And then lastly, what I learned from this student, Brandon has definitely taught me that it's very important to have students be social with each other from an early age. I feel that had Brandon maybe been around other students from an early age, he would know how to treat others and what was socially acceptable with friends. And since he had just started school in the 5th grade, he didn't get very much socialization with other children his age. So I did learn how important it was for students to be able to communicate effectively with other students their age. And that if you use positive reinforcement rather than negative, the students respond a lot better to it. Ian.